Mm, Shreyas, anything from the previous classes that you would like me to discuss?
I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. So you guys are finding linked list. Are you guys finding a command over linked list that you can solve linked list problems and at least attempt them if anything comes to you? Do you guys feel comfortable with doing linked list problems?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's a good thing. Good to know that. Uh, in that case, okay, let's start with something then. I think the list of topics which I mentioned, let me check out. I think there is one more problem that I would like to discuss, which is flatten a binary tree to linked list. I know we have not discussed a binary tree yet, so maybe I was a bit reluctant to I was a bit reluctant to do this problem because some of you might not be very well aware of the binary trees yet. And I think the new topics, did I mention about the new topics that we'll be discussing going forward? I think yes. Stacks, queues, binary trees. These are the few things which we wanted to discuss. Okay. Okay, sounds good. So let's do one thing. Let's start with a new topic altogether, which is stacks. So let me just open stacks, Geeks for Geeks. So whenever you want to just read the theory, Geeks for Geeks is a good place. You don't need anything else to read the theories and all. So stack is uh, as most of you know, stack is a LIFO data structure. LIFO is last in, first out. Uh, so stack data structure only has two operations which are allowed to it, which is like a push operation and a pop operation. Let me share my notepad. Let me share a notepad over here and try to write things over there. Okay, so when we talk about stacks, so stack is nothing but a LIFO data structure, which means last in, first out, right? Uh, the real life example of stacks are when you have plates, the when you have plates at your at your kitchen, and all these plates are stacked one on another. So if you want to put a new plate, if you want to put a new plate, it will always go at the top. And when you want to remove a plate from the stack of the plates, the topmost one will be the first one to be taken out. You cannot remove the bottom plate, right? You need to take out plates one by one. That's like a pretty good example of a stack. uh, there are two operations which are allowed in stack. One is like push operation, pop operation, and there is a size also. Yeah. So you can find the size of the stack at any time, which is like how many elements are there in the stack. So when we say there is something associated with the stack called top means the element which is there at the top of the stack, or the we also call it the topmost element in the stack is the top that refers to. So top usually refers to, let's say if we are representing stack with the help of an array, then what is the index of the topmost element? So we represent top, it refers to a topmost element, right? It can be index, it can be an index which refers to that. Now um, push operation simply places a new element into stack at the top, right? So whenever I want to insert a new element into the stack, I would just call stack.push, and it will place a new element at the top of the stack. Just like if I want to put a new plate onto the stack of plates in my kitchen, so I will do a push, and it will put a new element at the top of the stack. Also remember that whenever you do a push operation, the top the top variable automatically gets adjusted. Give me 1 second, someone is pinging me. 1 second. Okay, so whenever we do a push operation, it places a new element into the stack at the top, and then you also need to increment your top, because uh, you usually do a top plus plus whenever you push something onto the top of the stack. Then the pop operation is there. Pop operation removes the element from the top of the stack, and and gives it to you. It returns it back. So push is usually a void call. It does not return anything. It's a void operation. But pop is usually the T, I call it T rather than int. So most of the cases you'll be doing int, like it will be an integer if stack is holding integers. If it is holding floating values, it will be a float or a double. Uh, let's keep it generic. T is a generic data type, and then size is nothing but it returns an integer. At any point of time, you can find out the size of the stack. Whenever you are doing a pop, you have to make sure that stack is not empty, so its size is greater than 0. Or there can be in most of the cases there is one more function provided by the library, which is empty, whether stack is empty or not. So you should have this thing as well, is empty. It returns whether stack is empty or not. So before doing a pop, you need to check whether a stack is empty. If a stack is empty, then you cannot do pop, right? So that particular check you need to make. And before doing push, you need to check the capacity of the stack. Sometimes it depends upon how we are implementing stacks. We'll discuss about that in a bit. But if the data structure which you are using to implement a stack is of limited capacity, like an array, then in that case you cannot push unlimited number of elements into the stack. You have to make sure that stack is not full, otherwise you will receive a error. You will receive an exception called overflow. That's out of the bounds exception if you're using arrays. uh, just give me 1 moment. Okay. Any doubts so far in this, what we have discussed? Okay. So initially, if I design a stack class, let's say, we'll discuss about couple of ways to write a couple of ways to design and implement our own stack. We can implement a stack using couple of lot of ways we can implement. So one good option is we can implement a stack using arrays. Second option is we can implement a stack using linked list. And then there are other ways to implement stack, like you can use queues to implement the stack. uh, so there can be couple of ways. ठीक है. So there can be couple of ways to implement the stack. Now if I can someone tell me about what are what are the benefits and pros and cons of each approach? if I implement my stack with the help of arrays, what are the drawbacks and what are the benefits of that?
With an array, the drawback is when you push an element, you have to shift everything.
Okay, not necessary. Like you can, for example, if I'm using an array, right? Let's say I'm using a backing array. Initially my array is empty, and let's say the array size is 5. Okay, so let's say I create a new array of size 5, and initially the array is empty. Now if I, let's say, start pushing, I can initially, my top can be let's say -1. Top equals to -1 means array stack is empty. Usually that is a notation we use. So whenever I'm pushing something into the stack, I can say array of plus plus top is equal to new value, right? So let's say I can say void push and integer value, and simple implementation can be this is equal to value. So array of plus plus top is equal to value can be the push operation. And before pushing, I can just check whether the size is, so in this particular case I don't have to shift anything.
Got it.
Does it make sense? So
Yeah.
here I don't have to push, I don't have to shift the elements into this, into the array. uh, that would have happened if my top is always at 0th index. But I'm saying that let's not keep top at 0th index. Let's keep on incrementing the top, and whichever is the last element in the array, that can be my top. Does it make sense? Similarly, when I pop from the array, I can have simple pop thing like int result is equal to array of top, and then after that I can say top minus minus, and I can return the result. Or if you want to do it in a, in one single, in a concise way, you can just simply say return array of top minus minus. You can also say it like this. So that's a pop operation.
Another issue would be that an array cannot change size.
Yeah.
So you'd have to figure out how to implement that.
Yes. So array cannot change size. So that means that the stack cannot grow indefinitely, right? A stack cannot grow indefinitely. And before pushing into the array, we need to check if, let's say, top is already greater than, or if top is actually already equal to let's say array dot length -1, or so the top will be pointing at the element which, top will be pointing at the index, the last index uh, of the array which is filled. So if the last index which is filled is same as the last index of the complete array, then it means the stack is not. So here we can just simply say throw an exception, that throw an exception over here, that stack is full. You cannot push new elements into the stack. Similarly, before popping, we can check if, let's say, if top is pointing to -1, it means stack is empty, which is an underflow case, right? So I cannot do a pop. So these checks can be there. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So the bad thing about this, the whole thing about arrays implementation is, one thing, I would need to allocate an array beforehand, right? So let's say I need to allocate a fixed capacity beforehand. Now, if I'm like to, if if I'm too optimistic, or if I'm too safe, then I would keep a bigger size. It may happen that my stack never grows beyond 10 elements, so the space will go waste since arrays are static in nature. So the drawbacks with array implementation is nothing but the same drawbacks that you have with arrays versus linked list. Arrays are static data structures. They cannot change their size. You cannot change their size. So if fewer elements are there in the array, then you cannot grow them. If more elements are there in the array and stack is only using lesser space, we only have 2 to 3 elements in the stack at any point of time, but your array is, let's say, 1 million capacity, then it's a waste of space. So exactly the same drawbacks that we have with linked list versus arrays, you have the same on the stacks. But one thing is there, linked list is always a better option when it comes to implementing stacks. The simple reason is there is no benefit array offers me for stack implementation. Can someone tell me why there is no benefit of using an array for stack implementation? There is one particular point which I mentioned, that one particular point which actually doesn't make arrays so uh, very likable for stack implementation. What is the basic okay, let me ask you this: what is the basic purpose of arrays? Why have been arrays created?
If you want to traverse elements, it's easy. You can traverse them by index.
Traversal you can do in linked list also, right? Isn't it?
But by index, you can like skip having to go, next, or previous, or like, you can go
Yeah.
directly to one.
So that is like random access, right?
Yes, exactly.
So random access is big of 1 in case of arrays. You can reach to any index quickly. Uh, but now think about this. Do I need that feature of, am I even using that feature of arrays in stacks?
No, no, you're not.
I'm not, right? So that is why there is no and that is the main advantage of arrays over linked list, that they offer random access, big of 1 a time random access of any element inside this array. But I don't need that feature when it comes to stacks. So this is one of the implementations with arrays. Very simple implementation. You can have a push operation, you can have a pop operation. So just pop from the top, keep a variable called top, and like this is all. So I can just create a stack class over here, and what it contains, just it contains 2 members. uh, it contains an array data structure which has a size defined. In fact, you can make it, you don't have to define it over here. You can just keep it like the initial. You can just keep a declaration, and you can pass the size in the constructor like this, and you can say array is equal to new integer size, right? So this will work. and and top is already initialized to -1. You can in fact initialize top also here. You can say top is equal to -1. So this is the initialization of the stack, and then push and pop. And here you don't need to, you can say array dot length, or you can say size. Like you can have a capacity also. If you don't want to do a array dot length, you can just do a capacity, and you can equate capacity is equal to size. So this is the max capacity of the stack. And you can say if top is pointing to capacity -1, then stack is full. So this is like the pretty basic implementation of the stack, and it will work. So you can create your own stack implementation with this. Let's say if we want to test out this whole thing, I can just do a, I think it's a JDoodle Java. Okay, I think online GDP is the one. So let's select Java from here. Let's say that if I try to implement this whole thing, uh, instead of, so I can have my own class called stack, and let me call it class stack, and I can use, so here I have all the methods defined, and then I can just create an object of stack inside this is equal to new stack, and I can pass the size as 5, and then I can just say stack dot push 3, stack dot push 4, uh, and let's say stack dot push 2, and so on, and then just print out the stack dot pop. So keep on popping the stack. So we push 3 items, we pop 3 items, and just test it out. Okay, so when we are throwing an exception, like new exception is basically it's a uncached exception in Java. So uh, so usually what we can have is illegal state exception. That's a runtime exception. So that would not require us to catch anything. So let's try to run it now again. Okay, so as you can see the output, we have we pushed 3 4 2, but we popped in the reverse order. So in the stack you will push and pop in the reverse order. I'm pushing 3 4 and 2. 2 will come on the top. So 2 will be the first item to get popped, then 4, and then 3. So this is like this is the implementation that we have, an array based implementation that we have. So I'll call it, let's talk about another implementation which we have with respect to linked list. So let me just let me call it stack linked list or stack LL, just to know that it's a linked list based implementation. And the linked list based implementation also is going to remain the same. So here we can actually create a list. So we can create a list. We can use a predefined list data type which we have in Java, in C++ or Python, or you can create your own linked list. So you can create your own node class. Let's say static class node. You can define a data, like a value inside this, and next pointer, right? And then in the stack class you can just define let's say the head. Okay, and in the constructor you don't need to pass anything in the constructor, like usually there is no size or anything. It can grow indefinitely unless until you want to restrict the size of stack to a certain number, then that is okay. But let's keep it simple for now, that we don't want to put anything. So here I'm going to initialize a head as a, let's say, a dummy thing. 1 second. Okay, so head is equal to new node, and I can assign it as -1, which is a dummy thing. So this is my this is nothing but my top, or I would say, yeah, let's say this is nothing but the stack top, and mm, yep. So this is the stack top that I have, and basically whenever I have to push something, let's say int value, I have to push into the stack. You can just say that okay, you can create a new node for it. Let's say node is equal to new node val, right? And then you can just you can add it on the top, because uh, it has to be added at the head. So when I'm pushing into the stack, it has to be at the top. So you can say that node dot next is equal to top dot next, and top is equal to node. Does that make sense? So basically I'm making the incoming node as the new top. uh, okay, so top node dot next is equal to top dot next, and instead of saying top is equal to node, top dot next is equal to node. So that is, so basically I'm sandwiching the node between the new node between the actual top, because my top is pointing to a dummy head. So it will be like -1, which is a dummy, and then some valid numbers are coming, 5, 6, null. So my top is pointing at where? My top is actually pointing at -1. And if I have to push a new item, it has to come between -1 and 5. So let's say if I have to push 4, it should come here. What does it mean is, so I'm saying that I'm creating a new node of 4, and I'm saying 4 dot next is equal to top dot next, which is 5, and then top dot next, top is -1, top dot next is equal to node. So that actually sandwiches uh, the node uh, between the top uh, and the first item. Now if I have to pop something from here, let's say, it will have the same thing, like if stack is empty. So how can we check if it is empty? If top dot next is actually null, then we can throw the exception, illegal state exception, that stack is empty, cannot pop. Okay, otherwise if that is not the case, then you can just simply pop it. How to pop it? You can first remove the item from top dot next, and just simply say top dot next is equal to top dot next dot next, and then I can return item dot val. Does this make sense? Yes, no. Is there is it clear, or is there some confusion?
Yes. Yes, it's clear.
Okay, so this is a straightforward implementation. Both of these operations that we discussed, for like one implementation we discussed using linked list, second implementation we discussed using arrays. Both of these implementations are big of one operations, because push operation is big of 1, pop operation is also big of 1. So both the operations are big of 1 operations. The one advantage of using the linked list is the stack size is always going to reflect you the actual number of elements present in the stack. So the memory used by stack is same memory as the number of elements in the stack. But for array, for an array, the memory representation might not be accurate, and it can take much more space than actual elements present inside it. So this is like basic about stacks, very basic. Now let's try to move on to some questions on stacks. Let me check. Give me some time to find out the.
So there's only the array based and linked list based. You don't
Oh,
use anything else.
let's see. Stacks implementations. There is one more implementation using queues, but that's a DSA problem. No, nobody usually implements a stack using queues, but that's a DSA problem that will do how to implement stacks using queues. Let's see what all is there in the theory of the stack. So we have push, we have pop, we have a top or a peak. It returns you the topmost element in the stack. And then there is a is empty operation, which tells you whether the stack is empty or not using the size. And time complexity. Yeah, the important thing is the push, pop, peak, and is empty operation. They all take big of one time. So all the operations are big of one using the stacks. That's the biggest advantage and applications of stacks. So you can implement your own stack as we did for the purpose, or if you want, you can use the ready-made. In the DSA problems, we will use ready-made available stack data structures. Stack is provided by STL in C++ and collection classes in Java. So even if someone is familiar with, if someone wants to code in C++, there is a stack class already present in STL. Similarly, in Python, you have the stacks. So you can use the list data structure as the stack option. So it will have a push and pop options. So stack in Python, similar concept. So everything is available. Everything is available. You can implement it using a list. So there is because Python is a loosely data type language, there is no strong data types available. So the list will do. You can just simply do a pop and append. So you can still utilize the functionality in the Python as well. By the way, is which all languages do you guys code into? Errol?
I use Ruby. It's similar to Python in that it's linked based, dynamic. The types are dynamic.
Okay, nice. And what about Shreyas?
I prefer Java.
Hmm. And Rishi, I think Rishi codes in Java only. Okay, but yeah, language is not a concern. As I said, whether you code in Ruby, whether you code in JavaScript, some people prefer to code in JavaScript as well. Some people like Python, some people like Java, C++. So it doesn't matter which language you use, and that is the best thing about these companies. They are language agnostic. They are never ever going to take your interview on the language basis. So okay, uh, going forward, we have a lot of problems on stacks like balancing of symbols, infix, towers of Hanoi, tree traversals. I think we have a lot of problems on stacks. We discussed the two implementations using an array and using a linked list. So similar to what we discussed, you can, like, it's the same thing. You can go through it, and you can select your favorite language from here. The pros of using a array based implementation is, uh, here pointers are not involved, so I don't think it's a pros, but yeah, they're saying Pointers are not involved. So yeah, memory is saved because pointers take additional space in the memory. So in a way, memory is saved because we don't have. That is like the arrays versus linked list. That is the only difference. And cons, like it is not dynamic, so it cannot grow and shrink depending upon your needs. And then using linked list, similar thing, similar concept that we use. You can have a top or a root, and you can initialize it in the constructor like we did, or you can keep it null. They have not given a value to it, so it will be null. So you can whenever you're doing a pop, you can check if it is null, then just throw an exception or print a message saying that it is empty. So similar concept exactly. uh, the pros is like you can grow it dynamically, and cons is like it requires extra memories and all. So this is all about the theoretical aspects of I would say stacks. Now let's jump into some questions. We'll be doing all these problems over the period of time, infix to postfix, a lot of stack based questions. Let me see which all problems uh, we can do today. So let's do some easy problems, and then we will slowly shift towards the hard problems. Mm, mm, mm. Let me try to find out something. Remove all adjacent in the strings. Okay, all adjacent duplicates in the string. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting problem actually. Let's go. Let's try to do this problem. Actually, I planned this session for the doubts, but since we didn't have any doubts, so jumping on the problems. Um I'll give the list of problems after this end of the session, like around uh, 20-25 problems that we'll be doing on stacks in the coming sessions. So, but for now, today we'll do few problems that I have in mind. This is an easy problem, so we'll start with a very basic problem. Remove all the adjacent duplicates in a string. That is the question. So you are given a string S consisting of all lowercase letters. A duplicate removal consists of choosing two adjacent and equal letters and removing them. We repeatedly make duplicate removals on S until we no longer can. So what it means is you take two adjacent characters, you remove it. So double B gets removed. When double B gets removed, then A and A comes together, and that is also duplicate. So AA will also get removed, and finally you're left with CA, right? Similarly, if we take this example here, uh, if you scan the string, double X are the repeated and duplicate, so you remove it. Then you're left with Z and Z. You remove that also. Then you're left with A and Y. So this is the final answer, A and Y. This question has been asked by, I think, many companies as a starter question, and then they build upon it. Is the problem statement clear? Okay. So what do you guys think how we can approach it? What should be our approach to do this problem? Okay, looks like everyone is quiet. Either have you guys already done this problem?
No, I'm thinking through.
Okay. Sure, take your time. Think about it.
I mean, I can tell you something. Something I thought about initially was um, you have your stack, and as you traverse, you push and um, you compare the top to what element you're about to push,
Right.
and if it's if it's the same, then you could pop
Yes.
in the stack, and then just keep traversing to reach the end of the string.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's optimal, but I'm still thinking through it.
Mm-hmm. But let's say, okay. So what you're saying is, I think it's a good solution which Errol is suggesting. So what his approach is that we take a stack. Initially, stack is empty, right? Let's take this example. String is let's say this is the example that we have. We iterate over the string. We check whether the character that we have is same as the top of the stack. Initially, stack is empty, so we just push it. Then we come on to the next character, which is B. So we compare B with the top. Top is A, so we push B also into the stack. Right? So stack contains A and B. Now we have another character B. We check the top of the stack. Top of the stack is B, so we pop from the stack, and also we don't push now. We don't push B. In fact, instead of that, we pop from the stack, so stack becomes A, and then we move forward. We get to A, which is the fourth or the third character, zero, if I'm using zero based indexing. So I move to the third character, which is A. Then I compare with the top of the stack. They are same, so I don't push it into the stack. In fact, the I pop the top from the stack, so stack now becomes empty. Now I come to C. uh, at this point of time, stack is empty, so there is nothing to compare against. So I push C into the stack, and then I have A. I compare A with C, they are different, so I push A into the stack, and after that I exhaust my string, and at this point of time I would stop. So my stack contains C and A, where A is the top, C is not the top, C is the second element in the stack. Now I have to construct a string back from this, right? Because I have to return a string, I cannot return a stack. So what this means is I'll be popping the items from the stack, I'll be popping the characters from the stack till actually it becomes empty. So in the first character we pop is A, but now uh, we have to arrange the characters in the reverse order. So first character is A, now the next character is C. I have to put C before A, right? So basically I need to say like this: while stack is not empty, let's say stack is not empty, I would be having a string result, right? And let's say I would be saying result plus equals to or result is equal to stack dot pop, or we can say stack dot pop. First we can store it in a character. Let's say it will give me a character, so I can say result is equal to C plus result, and then finally I return the result. Does that make sense? uh, this is the last part of making the string back from using stack, making the resultant string back from using stack. Is this
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Errol?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. Now, what are the drawbacks of this approach? Can someone tell me what are the drawbacks of it? Or if there are any drawbacks? It's a good approach and it works, and no such major issues as such, but slight some few things which I would like to, which I have noticed. And so one thing is, let's say finally my stack will be holding the resultant string in a way which I have to construct back from the stack. Now this is a, it means that I have to again go into the stack, pop it out, push it back into the resultant string. And there is one more thing associated with the strings. This is like, it holds true for Java. For Ruby, I'm not sure, but most of the languages it is true. Uh, whenever you say result is equal to C plus result, this operation actually is a O of n operation. It is not a O of one operation, where n is the size of the result. The reason for that is, in most of the languages, string is a immutable object. You cannot mutate it. So even when I'm saying that result is equal to C plus something, in this means that I'm actually appending, or I'm appending something, or I'm pre appending something to the string. It does not change my string. In fact, what it does is, in Java, it is going to create a new object in the memory of size equal to C. C is a character, so it's 1 plus result dot length. It is going to create a new object, new placeholder in the memory, and it is going to copy C into it, and then it is going to copy all the characters from result, the previous value of result, into this new memory location one by one, and then it is going to reassign the reference called result back to the new memory cell, and the older memory cell will be eligible for garbage collection. Like, is that part understood, or I can explain?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm familiar with how strings operate in Java, at least in other languages. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Just to give a small context, I would just take, in if someone is seeing the recording. So let's say that when we talk about strings, uh, strings in most of the languages, so strings are immutable. And if I'm saying string is equal to ABC, let's say ABC, and this is a string S. Okay, if I say that S is equal to S plus D, now this operation is not a big O of one operation. This operation is big O of S dot length operation. The reason is, let's say there is an object in the memory called ABC, which is where S is pointing, right? And it contains ABC. If you're trying to add D into this, strings are immutable. It means they cannot be changed. This ABC string will not be changed. Rather, what will happen is, a new space in the memory is created, and all the contents of S, which is ABC, are copied into the new memory cell one by one character. So ABC will get copied, then D will also get copied here. It becomes D, and S starts pointing to this new memory cell. S starts pointing to this new memory cell. This is what happens. And this operation is big of, and it becomes actually big of an operation in terms of the time complexity. So this particular thing that we are doing is not very feasible. Like, it's not as good from the time complexity perspective. So Ideally we would want it to be big of 1, like each time it is doing a result plus this, it should be big of 1, and total operation should be big of n. The total time complexity of this should come as big of n. Also, when we store it in a stack, stack is a good solution and that is the right solution for this problem. But I'm just telling you the challenges with respect to the stack. Uh, when we store it into the stack, we have to do two operations. One is like scan the string from left to right. And finally, when you get the data into the stack, you have to convert it into a string. So you need to again traverse all the elements back into the stack, put them into the string. So it becomes twice of O of n, which is nothing but O of n only. But here we have to do 2 times the traversal. In the worst case, imagine the worst. Can someone tell me what's the worst case for this algorithm? Like when this operation will exactly be twice of O of n. What's the worst case? Okay, here's a hint. When do you think the stack will contain the maximum number of elements? Come on, this is easy. At least you guys should be able to tell me that part. Like what do you think the worst test case would be? I'm asking about a test case. What should be the value of the string where it would be the worst case?
Sorry, my computer. Anyways, I just got back.
Okay.
But the worst test case would probably be like where all the characters are like unique.
Yes. If your all the characters are unique, in that case, right? If everything is unique, then in this particular case, there is no removals, and the stack is going to contain all the characters, and then we have to we have to pop all the characters again from the stack. So it will actually become twice of O of n, and because we are using strings, it will actually end up becoming n square operation, because for every character you have to traverse, like you'll be building this up, right? C plus res, where it takes, this operation is going to take O of result dot length. So it will be like O of 1 plus O of 2 plus O of 3 plus 4, and it will become n square eventually. So this operation, because of this, it becomes an n square approach. uh, so but let's implement it first, and then we'll try to see another better approaches to solve this problem. So let's say I'm writing string solution 1. So easy thing is I take a stack. Now stack should contain what? String or characters?
I guess characters in this case.
Yes. So stack should contain a characters. Okay. So stack should contain characters over here, and then I would say that I'll be iterating my string. Right. And now what should I check? Let's say what is a condition I should push into the stack. So first condition is push into the stack, and second condition can be like pop from the stack. Right. When I'm going to push into the stack, let's say if the stack is empty, if nothing is contained present in the stack, or if stack.peak will give me the topmost element from the stack, but it will not remove it. I'll just take a look into it, but it will not remove it. If stack.peak is actually equal to s.caret I, so the current, if the current character, sorry, if it's not equal to this, if they are different, in that case, I'm just going to push s.caret. If you want, you can just store this s.caret I into a character first, so that you don't have to do it every time. So you can say char c is equal to this, and first of all, I'm going to check if my stack is empty or the stack.peak is not equal to the c. Then I'm going to push the character into the stack. Otherwise, what happens is stack is not empty in else, and stack.peak is actually same as the character c. Then what should I need to do in this case? I should simply pop it, right? It means that both the characters are same. The topmost character in the stack and the current character in the string is same. So I need to pop it from the stack. Is it clear, this part?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have everything in the stack now. I just need to construct the string back, right? So to construct the string back, we can actually take a string builder, which is a better choice in Java. So string builder will be like a string builder are the mutable strings. So rather than using strings, I can use string builder. Okay, so she had another class. Okay, cool. So now what I need to do is, while stack is not empty, if stack is not empty, then I need to, so what I can do is I can just keep on appending things into the string builder. So I can say stack.pop, or if you want, you can just store it in a character first. Char c is equal to stack.pop, and now I know that I'm not, I don't have to append it. I need to put it before that, but I'm just doing it so that I can do a reverse at the last. So I'm because I need to pop the characters from the stack, and I need to append. I don't need to append them. I need to pre-append them. That's what we discussed, right? So the first character has to go at the front, then second character has to go at the front again. So it should be so that C comes as the first one. So here string builder offers me a reverse functionality. So you can say this, or you can also say like string builder dot insert 0, C. So you always insert the new character from at the 0th index, and it will make a space. It will keep on shifting things. This is also fine. Or you can just keep on appending it, and anything is fine. You can keep on appending it, and at the end you can reverse it. So string builder dot reverse dot to string, and I can return it. So this works.
So this reverse method
It
gets
will-
over that limitation with the immutable strings.
reverse method will do what?
It handles that issue with Java's immutable strings having to construct a new string.
Yeah, that not the reverse method, but the string builder. String builder is a class in Java, which is a it's a flavor of string, which is a mutable string. So it means that it will change the whenever you are appending a new character into the string builder. It is not going to create a new object. It is just going to append the same thing, a new character, into the string builder, and then you can reverse it and you can return it.
Oh, cool.
So this actually is a big of n algorithm, because initially when we are iterating, filling the stack, it takes O of n time, and then finally when we are popping from the stack and constructing the final solution, this also takes O of n time in the worst case. And then reversing this thing will again take O of n time. So, or we can do a insert also, so we don't have to we don't have to do this. But append will be, I think append is much more preferable, because I think in insert it might need to shift it, all the characters. So you can just append it and finally reverse it and then convert to string. But this is a lengthier process, as you can see, right? 3n or 2n at least it is going to take. So this is a good solution, acceptable solution, nothing wrong about it. It's a O of n solution time complexity wise, and space complexity wise also it is O of n, because we are taking a stack and then we are taking a string builder or a new string which we have to return. So this is one way to do this. Okay, so it works. Let's try it out with the sample test cases. Okay, so let's try to submit it and see if it works. So it works, right? But this is not the ideal solution. The ideal solution is very simple than this. One more optimizations that we can do in Java is, instead of taking stack, I can actually just take a string builder only, because string builder offers that capability that it can be used like a stack. That is one more way. But the second way which I want to show you is very simple, and in fact this is what is much more preferable in these kind of questions. This is what companies would be looking for. Any see, one thing is we have to use a space, right? We have to use a space. What we are doing is we are actually going back in the time. Like, we are first deleting the characters, we are popping from the stack, and then finally once we have the stack, we are reversing everything and getting it. How about this way, that I take the resultant array, I take a character array, okay? I take a character array of the same size as the string. Okay, so it's the same size, or I can define an n is equal to s dot length, right? So I define as n is equal to s dot length, okay, and I say that n. Now what do I want to do with this is, I want to take two indices. One is to traverse in the array, and second is to traverse inside the string. So basically, let's say I have a for loop where I'm iterating in the string simply, and basically my character array is my resultant string. I would construct a string from here, and j will refer to the current. So j will be referring to the uh, current element which I am on to. So basically the idea is that uh, I'll not be deleting anything. Like, here I was popping out some things, and then using the stack I was reconstructing things back. Here I'll not be popping out something. Can someone tell me, like, what am I thinking, or what is the idea with using a character array and how we can implement it? The hint is that I can use a character array and I can store the characters in it. As soon as I find a duplicate character, I don't need to remove something from the array, but I can just decrement the j in such a way that I can override things, and finally I can reconstruct a string using the character array till, like, some of the locations might not, for example, only final string is of 2 length, then I would construct the final string using the starting 2 characters of this correct character array. Can someone tell me about like thoughts about this solution which we are going to discuss?
I think I got it.
Okay.
So you would go through the string,
Uh-huh.
and you would keep an index, like a current index. That's your j.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen that already,
Mm-hmm.
you put that letter at j,
Okay.
and if you have seen it, and then you increment j.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have seen that letter already,
Mm-hmm.
then you would not increment j,
Okay.
and you would append it to the end,
Okay.
something like that.
Yep. So basically what the plan is, I'm using first of all, I'm going to whatever character I get from the string, right? Whatever character I get from the string, I would just simply copy it into the array first of all. But I'll be using the j. J is my pointer to refer inside this array, and I is the pointer to refer inside the string s. So whenever I'm using array, I'll be using j. So I'll be saying that array of j is equal to s dot char at I. First of all, I just blindly copy whatever it is. Uh, and then finally, I'll also do a j plus plus along with the I plus plus. So first thing, I'll just copy whatever character I get, just copy it. Now I'm going to check if j is either 0. Let's say if j is actually greater than 0, j should not be 0, and array of j is actually equal to array of j minus 1. If this is the case, I'll just simply say I'll simply say that uh, j is equal to j minus 2. So basically what I'm doing is I'm actually deleting the 2 characters, not deleting as such, but changing the pointer. We'll see, we'll use this thing in multiple places. It's a common pattern that I have seen in multiple questions. So basically what I'm doing is I'm decrementing my pointer 2 steps back, because these 2 characters are obsolete now. I have to anyways remove them, they are equal. So instead of removing them as such, like overriding them, I just shift my pointer 2 steps back so that it will start overwriting them in the next iteration. And this is it. This is it. And then I just return new string. I'll create a new string from character array, and I will use the length till j. That's it. Does this like see how concise the solution is and how beautiful it is? Okay, let's try to dry run it. What happens for a sample case? Okay, so let me take this case, right? Let me write it above this question so that okay, so let's take this sample case. Now what happens with this? I take a new array. It's of size 5, right? 6. So it has 6 places. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so it has 6 empty places in this array. I'll just remove the commas. So 6 empty places. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now I traverse on the string. Initially my j is pointing at 0. Okay, so I'll just write j also. J is pointing at 0. I is also pointing at 0. Now what happens at this point of time is I copy array of j to so at the first location, I copy A. Okay. And then I check if J is greater than 0. This is not true, so we don't run into this. Then increment I, so J becomes, I becomes 1, J becomes 1, right? Plus plus J plus plus I. Now the next character is B. So first of all, I copy B into this. Okay, at J, array of J is equal to s dot caret I. So I copy B into this. Now I check whether array of J is equal to array of J minus 1. J is 1, so array of J, so it means I'm checking with the previous character. A is not equal to B, that's fine. So I don't do anything. I increment both J and I now. So J becomes 2, I becomes 2. Now at this point of time, again, I copy first of all, we blindly copy the ith character into the jth location. So ith character is B, and we copy that into the j equal to 2 second location. Now J is greater than 0, yes, and array of J is actually equal to array of J minus 1. This is also true because B and B are same. Now what do I do is, instead of deleting anything, I just decrement my J 2 places back because these are same. So I don't want to, I have to ignore these two characters. So I decrement my J by 2. So J actually becomes 0. J will come to J comes to 0. And now we do a I plus plus and J plus plus. So now I becomes 3 and J becomes 1. Now notice the next character we get is A. So what do I do is I copy A into the jth index, which is pointing to B, because these are all useless characters for me now. Although there is a B and B over here, but these I have skipped those characters because my J is pointing at 1. So now at 1th location, I'll be copying the ith character. Ith character is 3, which is A. So I'll copy A here. And after copying A, I notice that array of J is actually equal to array of J minus 1 because A and A are same. Again, at this point of time, I will decrement J by minus 2. So J will become minus 1. And then after this iteration, we do I plus plus J plus plus. So J actually becomes 0. I becomes 4. Now J is pointing at 0. Now, first step, I'm copying ith character into jth location. Ith character is C. Because I equal to 4, we have C. So I'm going to copy C here. And then J is greater than 0. No, this condition becomes false. So we don't do anything. Then we iterate, increment I and J. J becomes 1, I becomes 5. And finally, we copy the last character, which is A, into the J equal to 1th location. What is J equal to 1th location? This J equals to 1. So I'm going to copy A. So it will override A back to A. And then J is greater than 0 is true, but this condition is not true because A is not equal to C. And then finally J will get incremented, I will get incremented, J becomes 2, I becomes 6. And then we come out of this loop because this condition becomes false. And then finally what we are saying is, give me a new string from this array starting from 0th character and going till jth character, but this is the last character is not included. It is an exclusive. If you guys are familiar with the strings, last index is exclusive. So here I would say that give me a new string from 0 to 2, where 2 second index is exclusive. So basically from 0 to 1, 0 to 1 contains only C and A, and it is going to return C, A. So is this clear? Clear or not?
I got the general idea. I'll just have to go through it once.
Okay. Errol?
Essentially, I'm in that same ballpark. I'm parsing the code and walking through it. Yeah.
Okay.
So wait, this isn't even like a stack approach at all, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
using, yeah. So, okay. This is like an optimization.
Yes.
But okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know we are discussing the stack topics, but the solution, like this is a very famous question on stacks. But yeah, you can do it without using stacks. And uh, in the FANG companies, Facebook and Google, Apple, this is kind of solution they are expecting. Here I'm not using any fancy data structures, nothing fancy about it. It's very simple, and everyone knows about how to use arrays. Everyone knows about how to iterate over the arrays. This is what companies are looking for.
I see.
So yep, here the benefit of this is I don't have to go back and delete something. Like in solution one, in the stack operations, I have to go and actually pop from the stack, and whichever the matching characters are there. It's a good solution nevertheless, even if you implement it, at least in companies like mid-level companies, or even in companies like I think Walmart or something like that. You should be good enough, even if you know how to even if you can answer it like this. But this is the ideal solution for this problem. Here only one traversal I'm doing, that's it. It's O of n, pure O of n. I'm not even doing a second traversal. And so that's why it is a better choice. Even in the submissions, you will see the runtime of the previous one is pretty bad. But if I, let's say, do the second solution and I comment out the first one, let's try it out. Okay, I think it's char, new char, my bad. Okay, let's try to submit it. See, the runtime improved a lot, right? From 59% to straight to 95%. So, so this is an optimized solution. Let us discuss a problem. Let us discuss a second version of this problem called remove all adjacent duplicates. Okay, let me just reset this code. So this is the kind of question you will expect in a Google interview. The first question, when they will ask the first question, they will actually follow up. They might follow up with this. So what does it mean? Let's first try to see this question. It is the same question which we saw just now, but there's a added complexity that you can only remove a block of k duplicate characters. So for example, if k is equal to 3, you cannot so let's say when I'm iterating on this string, I cannot remove double e. I can only remove if 3 e's come together. So here e coming together, I remove it. Then I'm left with d and d. Then I cannot remove d and d because they are not equal to 3, they are just 2. Then I get b, again I cannot remove. Then I get c, so this I can remove, so it becomes d, b, and then one more b comes. So this b and this b becomes 3 b's, so it gets removed. And then this d, this d, and this d also becomes 3 d's. So all of this string gets removed, and finally you're left with double a. Similar logic, like you can take any example, this one as well. So here you have to okay, when k is equal to 2, it actually becomes same as the previous problem. The previous problem we were there, you can imagine k is actually equal to 2. Here they have made the problem more generic. They are saying you can only delete in the group of k size. and they're saying that it is guaranteed that the answer is unique. And by the way, this problem has been asked by good companies in past 6 months: Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, Google, ByteDance, VMware also asked it. So, so yeah, this is a good problem. Try to think about it. How we can solve it? How we can extend the logic, or what should be what can be the approach to solve this problem? Mm, ideas, suggestions?
I'm thinking about our previous approach. I don't have anything concrete, but what I will say is, I think we could do. I mean, I think why can't we modify what we did previously
Yeah.
with your pointer, your array technique, with
Okay.
the J pointer, but well, that's tricky.
Let's think it. Okay, let's think in terms of stack. Even if you use stack, how can you do it? The brute force. Let's talk about the brute force first. Brute force is easy. Okay, let's say that I'm using a stack. How I can solve it using a stack? Let's take this example. So how can I solve it using the stack, this particular problem? What do you think? Isn't it the same thing? Like I can do the brute force. I'm asking, I'm not saying that tell me about so I'm just saying that, okay, tell me about the brute force approach. Even if it's a stack, or it doesn't have to be a stack, you can use a you can use a list to use it like a stack. The reason for that is because I have to count elements, that they have to be equal number of characters should be 3, like should be equal to k. So what I can do is I can start pushing the elements into the list if they are not same. If they are same, let's say now next item E, I compare it with the top. It is not same, so I can push E. The second, now the second E, I notice that it is actually same as the previous E. So what I'll do is I'll go back k minus 1 elements and I will check whether all the elements are E. Here all the elements are not E, so it means it's safe to push. So I'll push again E, and then another character E comes, and I notice that it is same as the top of the stack or top of the list, whatever you want to call it. And then you want to count the frequency, whether I have noticed like k minus 1, because one of the characters is coming from the main string. So you can say that if previous k minus 1 characters are same, then it means I need to remove these k minus 1 characters from the list. Or what you can do is you can just blindly add it first to the list, and then you can check whether it is same as the previous character. If it is same, or you can just compare the last k characters. If they are same, then you can remove all of them from the list, and then again you add a new character over here, and then you go back and check whether k characters are same. here only two characters are same, so we don't do anything. We go forward, we add b, we check whether all k characters are same. They are not same, so good. Again add b, again k characters are not same, last k characters are not same, so okay, good. Move forwards, add c, again add c, again add c. Now once you add c third time, then you go back k characters and you check all characters are same, so you remove it. Do you get the idea of the brute force approach?
Yeah.
What is the time complexity of brute force approach?
It should be O of n.
O of n. Okay. Are you sure that it's just O of n?
I don't think so, because it also depends on how many repetitions are there and how long are the repetitions.
What do you mean by repetitions?
Like the letter E. So if it repeats 3 times or 4 times or n times,
Okay.
that makes a difference.
Got it. If I keep it simple, let's say, in the worst case, what I'm doing is I'm checking every character, I'm putting it inside the list, and then I'm going back k characters, right? It may happen that I may not end up going k characters like every time, but let's say that closer to k characters I'm going to find out whether they are same or not. So when I add a new character, I'm actually, in the worst case, I'll end up going k characters back. I'll end up going k characters back to find out whether they are same or not. So the time complexity for the brute force is not exactly n into k, but it will be similar to, in fact, it is actually going to be n square by k, you can say, or n into n by k. The reason for n by k is you can divide this whole string by into k intervals. So every third interval you might end up going back k characters. So approximately the time complexity will be in the order of n square by k, something like that will be the time complexity for the brute force. Does that make sense? Yes.
What exactly is K here?
K is the given in the question. The you have to like k is the block size in which you have to delete. Just read the question again. Like it is k is the input given in the question.
Yeah, got it.
Because you want to count the frequency, right? Here you have to count the frequency. If they're occurring in sizes of k, only then you can remove them. Otherwise you can't remove them. Now the main issue with this problem that we are facing is we are not storing the count. For example, if I am at second E, I have no idea of knowing that how many E's have occurred before it. The adjacent E's I'm talking about, consecutive adjacent E's. I need to go back every time to find out, oh, there were two E's. Similarly, when the third E comes, I don't have an idea that how many E's are before it. So I need to go back and check everything. Do you find the drawback with this? The bottleneck? The bottleneck is every day I'm not keeping a track of the frequency or the adjacent the consecutive frequency, I would say. Like D occur, for example, if I try to keep a track of the frequency, D occur one time, E occur one time, this E occurred, this is the second frequency now because 1 plus 1 2, this E is occurring now 2 plus 1 3, Now this D is actually adjacent to the first E because these E's will be removed. So the frequency of this D should be 2 actually instead of 1. Then this B comes, then the frequency of B is 1, the second B is 2, and then C is 1, 2, 3. As soon as third 3 comes, I will remove all these C's from here, and then again start with the previous letter I got was B, which is 2. So I'm going to compare the next B with this B, and it is same. So I'm going to increment the frequency of previous B by 1. I'm not going to go back all the way down there to find out how many B's are there. I know that it is B, so I'll just reuse its frequency and I will increment 1 to it and I'll put it 3. Now it becomes 3, so I'm going to remove 3 B's, which is this. And then the last character we get is D. I'm going to compare this D with this D. They are same. So I'm going to increase the frequency of this D becomes this plus 1, which is 3. Again, as soon as it becomes 3, the frequency becomes 3. I remove all these characters, like it becomes totally empty, and finally we have A and A. So we don't have anything now in the string left. So this will be 1. Frequency of A will be 1, then the next frequency will be 2, and we stop. And finally we get AA as the answer. Like, is the approach kind of becoming clear, or the idea what we are going to use? So basic idea is we are going to count the frequency of consecutive consecutive characters. So if a E is occurring third time, I will know that this E is occurring third time. The reason is the previous character is E and the frequency of that is 2. And how do I know it is 2? Because the previous character is E, the frequency of that is 1. So I have just added plus 1 to that. Similarly, when I notice a third E, I don't have to go back k minus 1 places to find out if all the characters are same. I can just go back one place and find out if it's the same character. Then the frequency of that plus 1 will be the frequency of the current character. And if the frequency reaches k at any point of time, then I know that I have found k adjacent characters which are duplicate, and I can simply remove them. Removing means that I can simply, we'll discuss about it, but I can to understand things, you can simply remove them. You know that you have found a block size of k. Like, is this clear?
Yeah, I was thinking of that removal. Okay, so yeah, okay.
Okay. So first thing that I'm going to need is the frequency, right? To count how many to count the frequency of consecutive characters. So I'm going to first of all, I'm going to take a integer n is equal to s dot length, same logic, and then int of n, I'm creating a frequency. And then I'm since I need to remove the character, so I'm going to take a character array, the same thing we did in the last question, nothing different. Only difference is I'm taking a one more array called frequency array to count the frequency of consecutive elements. Similar approach, I'm going to take 2 pointers, j and I. J will be referencing my array and I will be referencing my string. Ditto, same logic, no change. Okay, that's the beauty of the code that we'll write. So first step, I'll blindly copy the new character, whatever the character is present on the current index I. So I'll copy the ith character into the jth location. no issues on that. Okay. So I've copied it. Now I would try to compare it with the previous character. If array of j is actually equal to array of j minus 1, in that case frequency of j will be equal to frequency of j minus 1 plus 1. Is this clear, this part? I think this is simple, right? It shouldn't be any surprising factor on this. And since to avoid the negative indexes, I will just say that j is greater than 0, and this. If this is not the case, let's say if either j is 0 or array of j is not equal to array of j minus 1, then frequency of j simply becomes 1. It means it's a new character. Uh, so frequency of j becomes 1. Now the interesting case comes is, if as soon as the frequency of j actually reaches 3, actually reaches k, it means that I have found a block of k consecutive characters. I have found a block of k consecutive characters. I would just simply do j is equal to j minus k, and that's it. And in the iteration, I'll do a j plus plus, and then I'll just simply return new array 0 new string array 0 j. This is exactly the same code that I have written in the previous question. Not an inch of a difference other than the frequency that I'm using. So if I show you side by side the previous code as well. So here what we did, we took a character array. We were saying that if the two previous characters are same, it means here value of k is 2. So Shreyas, you were asking me what is k? K is the block of characters that you need to remove. In this particular problem, k is actually 2. They have not given k as such, but whenever you see two adjacent same characters, you remove them. So here k is 2. Notice that as soon as I found the block of k consecutive characters, which is 2 characters, I simply decrement my j by 2 positions. Similar thing I'm doing here, ditto same thing. I'm just first handling the frequency part, because it is not 2, it is k now. As soon as the frequency becomes equal to k, I just decrement my j by j minus, decrement j by k places back. We'll dry run it using this input. So let's dry run it using this particular input that we have. Okay, so first I'm taking a frequency array, and then I'm taking a character array. Okay, I have I and j, right? So I'll just keep I and j like this. I is 0, j is 0 initially, and I have frequency array, character array, 2 pointers I and j. The first time what we do is, initially we blindly copy jth element into the ith element into the jth location. So I is 0, so we copy d inside the array, so it becomes d. Also we change the frequency frequency array. So we say that j is equal to 0 right now. So the frequency is 1. It means frequency of, so I'll write it like here. So frequency of j is 1. I'll just write it side by side. So frequency of j is 1. After this step, we check whether frequency of j is k. It's not true because k is 3. So we go to the next iteration. We do I plus plus j plus plus. So I becomes 1, j becomes 1. Now, first step we do is we blindly copy ith character into the jth location in the array. So ith character is e. So we copy this into the array at jth location, which is j is equal to 1, which is over here. Then we check whether array of j is actually equal to array of j minus 1. They are not the same. E and D are not same. So I pass another frequency. So I put another, the frequency of E is 1 again. So I put frequency of j is equal to 1. Then I notice E. So I will increment and j will increment for the next iteration. Then I copy ith character into the jth location. So E will be copied here. And this time array of j is actually equal to array of j minus 1. So frequency of second E will become frequency of previous E plus 1. So it becomes 1 plus 1, 2. Then frequency of j is not equal to k. So we don't do that. Increment I and j again for next iteration. Then copy ith element. So copy E into this and increment the frequency by previous frequency by 1. So it becomes 3. Now, as soon as frequency becomes k, at this point of time, frequency actually becomes equal to k. What this means is we have found a block of k consecutive characters, which is true because we have found a block of 3 E's together. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to decrement j by k. So j will be 3 minus 3, j will become 0 as per this line. Okay. Now the next thing we do is after this iteration j plus plus I plus plus. So I becomes 4, j becomes 1. Now notice that how smartly we have actually made j as 1, which means j is actually pointing to this first character, which is E. So we'll start overwriting these characters now, which is what we wanted because these are like useless characters. They have to be removed. They had to be removed. So now we'll copy ith character into the jth location. Ith character is 4. What do we have at 4 is D. So we copy D here. Okay. Add j is equal to 1. Now we check whether the array of j is actually equal to array of j minus 1. Yes, it is true because D is same as previous character. So we copy the frequency of j, which is j is 1. So frequency of j is this part. So notice that these all values become useless now. So I can, for the simplicity, I'll just remove them. So it becomes dash dash dash. Now frequency of j is frequency of 1 will be equal to previous frequency plus 1. So it becomes 2. So 2 comes here. Then frequency of j does not become k since k is 3. So in the next iteration, we do I plus plus j plus plus, j becomes 2, I becomes, so I becomes 5 and j becomes 2. At this point of time, we copy ith character into jth location. What is ith character is B, which is 5th character. Now I copy B at 2 location. What is 2? At 2 E is present, so it will be overwritten. So I'll copy B over here. I'll just remove E for now because these are dummy characters now. So J is 2. I copied it here. Now B is not same as D. So the frequency of B is going to be 1. And then we go back to the next character. So J becomes 3, I becomes 6. At this point of time, it is next B. So we copy first of all the ith character into jth location. It becomes this. And then we check whether this character is same as the previous character. It is same. So I'm just going to copy the frequency. So it becomes 2. Then CCC comes. J becomes 4, I becomes 7. Copy C over here. And frequency is 1 because C is not equal to B. Then again J becomes 5, I becomes 8. Again copy one more C here. Frequency of this is 2 because it is same as the previous one. Then increment J, increment I. You get last C. You put C here. And now you increment the frequency. It becomes 3 now. As soon as frequency becomes 3, you simply decrement J by K. So J becomes 3. Since J becomes 3, I can remove all the useless characters like, and then the iteration will end and finally J will become plus plus. So J becomes 4 and I becomes 10. Now since J is 4, it means I have to start writing at the 4th location, which is this one. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So basically I can remove these triple C's now. That's what it means. I can remove these triple C's from the array and I will start overwriting from here. Earlier the value is present as CCC, but they will get overwritten. So I'm just writing dash and dash to simplify things for you. Now the 10th character, which is B, gets copied here. And the frequency of this new location is going to be frequency of J. What is frequency of J? J is 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like you can find it out. So it is going to be another triple B's. So the frequency would have been 3 till now. So we'll just remove it and 0, 1, 2, 3, and it will become 3 now. And we'll just remove all these 3 characters. And J will again become 1 because J equal to J minus K. And you can just remove all these characters from here. And then finally you become J is equal to 2, I becomes 11 for the next iteration. And then you copy D, you put D over here, and the frequency will be 3. So this is the idea. I don't want to go till the last character. Did you get the solution?
Yeah, I followed. You're gonna say something?
Okay. Cool.
Well, never mind.
Yeah, you can ask it if you want.
I'm good.
What's the time complexity of the solution? Okay. What's the time complexity for this? I think it should be easy to find out from this, right? Isn't it? So it's a O of n time complexity. Okay. You're just having a single for loop and we are not looping anywhere else. And the space complexity for this is again O of n. So time complexity is O of n, and space complexity is also going to be O of n. The reason is I'm taking two arrays. One is a frequency array and second is the character array. Both are the size of n, and so it is twice of O of n, which is nothing but O of n. So this is the solution for this problem. There can be multiple other solutions, but this is the most optimized solution. And as I said, we'll be discussing the most optimized solution most of the times. I don't want you guys to remember intermediate solutions because that's a wastage of time. FANG company is looking for this solution. They are not looking for so I think I might have missed something on the way, but the idea is pretty much the same thing. Let's see what I have missed. So if frequency of j becomes equal to, okay, I think here that's a wrong. So whenever I'm indexing into the string, the main string, I'll be using I. And when I'm indexing into the array, I have to use j. So that was a wrong thing. That's why I created two index. It's the same concept as here. I is used to index into the string and j is used to index into the array, the character array that I have created. So let's try to copy this test case and run it first. Let's see if it works for this. Okay, it works. And yep, let's try to submit it now. So it gets submitted. And this is a proper FANG company question. You can expect something. It's not a hard problem. I know it kind of looks hard, but it's not a hard problem. It's a medium problem. And yeah, this is like, this is what they're expecting you. Something similar on these lines. You can have a different logic, like you don't have to write it like this. Or maybe if you want to tweak something, but they would be expecting something like a O of n solution for this particular problem. So you have to use a frequency, some way to find to keep track of the frequencies of previous characters, which are consecutively repeating. So does this make sense? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'll just close the session for today at this, and we'll start doing more problems on the stacks, like the proper problems on the stacks in the next sessions.